Check, 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 check. All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. The time where I'm at right now is about 9:13 p.m. and it's 6:5. The date is June 15th. 2025, and we are bringing back reading the news. And I'm going to be doing reading the news the old-fashioned way, the old school way, screen cut halfway. I noticed that a lot of other YouTubers are taking this style, and I started this style back in 2023 when I was doing all the mass shooting reporting, and now I see a bunch of other YouTubers are doing text on one half of the screen, them talking on the other half with the camera on, sometimes even just the photo booth camera. So your boy is an innovator, man. I did not see anybody doing this style until I did it, and this channel still is struggling. Explain that. But we're coming back with reading the news, and we have a bunch of things going on in the world today. We have political assassinations of Democratic lawmakers in the U.S. We got Israel bombing Iran. We got blacks and Latinos finally settling the score, dissolving the Black and Brown Alliance. There's a lot to talk about. Trump had a whack-ass parade that nobody showed up to. There's a lot to get into. But if you want to holler at your boy, just click the link to the call-in show. We got the Zoom open live. We taking all calls, all requests, all smoke. Holla at me. Holla at your guala. Anyway, we're just going to be reading these stories very briefly, then also watching a video. Let's start here with Iran. Life feels like it's on hold. Some Iranians brace for a long fight. Some Iranian citizens' early hopes that the conflict will be short-lived were giving way to fear that the violence will not end soon. You know, it's horrific what's happening to the Iranian people, man. Israel is just terrorizing this nation for no goddamn reason. I mean, for some people, they might say, oh, the Iranians are backing the Houthis in Yemen. They were backing Hezbollah in Lebanon and stuff like that. But, they're just looking out for their people to some degree. You know what I mean? They're trying to protect the Shias in Lebanon, in Yemen, etc. And just generally, like, the Iranian people, by and large, probably don't care about the regime, don't like the regime like most people around the world. They hate their president. They hate their government. They just want to take care of their family, their friends, and stuff like that. And this regime, is very extreme, but it doesn't deserve to have civilian places bombed like what we're seeing in this image right here. Anyway, I'm going to be reading this article from the New York Times, published on June 15th, 2025, by Layli Nikanazor. And as Israel and Iran attacked each other with fresh strikes, Iranian citizens' early hopes that the conflict will be short-lived were giving way on Sunday to fear that the violence they were seeing outside their window will not end anytime soon. In voice notes and text messages, some residents of Tehran described to the New York Times what it was like living under the Israeli barrage. All asked to use only their first names because of the heightened security situation. In some places, residents were close enough to see missiles streaking across the sky and the fireballs, smoke and rubble left behind their impacts. Bezed, a 40-year-old copyright expert, saw the aftermath of Israel's attack on a fuel depot in northern Tehran from the rooftop of her home a few miles away. This is horrific stuff, man. This is not cool to be living under this type. Like, Israel, under any other circumstance, will be considered a belligerent rogue state that America would have to invade to bring them democracy, and also in exchange for their oil or natural resources. But because we're so cucked by the Israelis, we just let them terrorize an entire region. Terrorize residents living in their homes and their apartments, just going about their lives. It's sick, man, how cucked we are by Israel, because any other country acting this way, we would have been knocked them off the board. The explosion was clearly visible, its glow illuminating the nearby mountain, she said. I never imagined witnessing such a scene in my city during my lifetime. Ali, a 43-year-old engineer in Tehran, said that on the first night of the attacks, we thought it would be temporary. But the second night was overwhelming. We barely slept, he added. He said he and his wife have tried to shield their young children from the situation, avoiding TV and words like war to keep them from sensing our anxiety. We still hope this will pass soon, he continued, but deaths and casualties are hitting closer to home. He had hoped that Iran would resume negotiations with the United States to end the war. But after talks scheduled to take place in Oman this weekend were canceled, his mood shifted. My hope is fading, he said. That sentiment was echoed by Arash, a 42-year-old psychologist, who said this conflict seemed different from earlier clashes with Israel. Many people remain in denial, hoping this crisis will end soon, but the atmosphere is gradually shifting, he said. I know this is controversial to say as an American, but I fuck with Iran. I fuck with the Iranians. Number one, for standing up to America, by and large. Like any country, despite their ideology, if you stand up to the U.S., post-World War II, you get my respect. You get what I'm saying? North Korea gets my respect, Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran. These are big dick countries. You get what I'm saying? And Iran is, in a lot of ways, they're a much larger nation, much more threatening than Israel. If it wasn't for America, they could have been knocked Israel off the board. But they show ultimate restraint. The Iranians show ultimate restraint, low key. The Iranians have enough ammunition to really knock Israel off. But they hold back even while their own citizens are killed. And yet Iran is like shooting missiles at Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel and stuff like that. But these are like, slaps on the wrist for the type of egregious behavior that Israel is doing. But Iran is like playing it safe because they don't want total regime collapse. But I'm going to continue here. So, increasingly, people are realizing that this wave of attacks differs from previous ones, which typically involved a single strike followed by a 2-week lull, he added. Now life feels like it's on hold. Internet access has been restricted since the first attacks, adding to the uncertainty, Arash said. Residents are desperate for news about the explosions, he explained, and we're trying to find virtual private networks to bypass restrictions. In recent days, some Iranians have also expressed anger at the leaders of Israel and sometimes their own country, with many saying that the violence reminded them of the Iran-Iraq War of the 80s or the Iranian Revolution of 79. Sepideh, a teacher, blamed the Iranian government's misguided decisions for economic hardships, including inflation and the heavy sanctions imposed on it, which had weakened the country before the conflict. She said that she had seen videos circulating on social media showing some Iranians celebrating after the Israeli assault. They believe that attacks targeting Iranian leaders could lead to their freedom, even at the cost of national resources, she said. They would never do this. Like, let's say, for example, like some other country striked the White House. Some other country like tried to blow up the Pentagon or did another 9/11 or something like that. And they, picked the few maybe black radicals out there who would be celebrating that anybody is striking a blow at the great Satan. They would never report that in the New York Times. But the New York Times obviously is biased. It's obviously biased. It's funded probably by the CIA and the State Department and all that type of stuff. And they're going to say the type of shit like, yeah, maybe some Iranians are happy Israel is killing their citizens. Yeah, maybe some Iranians are happy that Israel is going to be like targeting babies, women and children, trying to turn their country into Gaza. All right? Akhti says, and also again, Israel is targeting civilians in Iran too. Exactly. They get away with targeting civilians, but somehow the Iranians are the one that we should fear. Shout out to the people of Iran. I'm not hoping for greater, conflict in the world. We don't need more wars. We don't need more innocent people dying. This is not what we want at all. But, Iran, in a lot of ways, is, coming out looking like the victim in all of this and justified in their responses. And America should not get caught up in Israel's BS. Can we please stop being cucked to this nation? Anyway, let's go here. This is an article here. Millions of Americans like Trump better in theory than in practice. This is published today on the New York Times, an opinion piece that I thought would be interesting to read. And since the election, a lot of people seem to be turning against, this administration. We see the opinion polls continue to crater for Trump. We saw how he, butchered the tariffs that he said he was going to do, and Americans were surprised he actually went through with it, causing chaos for weeks in America to the stock market and to many other people's businesses and things like that, shuttering U.S. aid, letting Elon Musk run wild with Doge, all sorts of wicked stuff, and God knows what the next 3 years will bring, because it's about to be a fucking mess. But a lot of people, last year were saying, yeah, Trump is gonna, bring back the economy. Things were great back in, 2018, 2017, 2019 for me. Why not just bring it back? And it was only because of COVID that Trump messed up. So why don't we give him a second chance? And now we're seeing that this second chance is turning into our second nightmare that we're living through together. But let's continue here. This was published today. I'm just going to briefly read through this. It's not often that a single poll result can help you understand several things at once. Why President Trump is politically vulnerable, why he is politically resilient, and why millions of Americans still don't truly understand the MAGA movement. But I recently saw a single graphic that did just that. Did you look at a cult? Did you look at a cult book? Did you look at a cult infographic? Because that's what MAGA is. It is a cult. We have to keep it real. They don't question their dear leader. Anything he says goes, and violence is always on the table. Definitions of a cult. It came from a CBS YouGov poll released last week, and the most important finding was one that at first blush doesn't seem that interesting. CBS found that a majority of Americans approve of the goals of Trump's deportation program by a 10% point margin, 55 to 45. So even though we're seeing horrific things happening, like that little Turkish girl that was ripped off the street and sent to Louisiana, like all the other protests in America where the police are like bashing college students over the head, where Trump is like breaking into elementary schools with ICE to kidnap people's parents as they watch little Maria walk across the stage. Most Americans like that. We live in a fascist nation. We live in a fascist nation. I'm not even in America. America is a mind state, but we live in a fascist nation. Most Americans like the barbarous way we are doing deportations. That tells you something. That tells you something. So all of our hope about having universal health care, universal higher education, there's nothing you can do with the troglodytes of America. There's nothing you can do with the barbarians, the Neanderthals of America. Our country is gone. Our country is lost. It's all cultish MAGA buffoons who watch Fox News all day and are brainwashed into thinking that somehow the Mexicans are coming to rape their daughters. Stop it. This is insane. I hate America so much. 55% of Americans approve of the way Trump is doing deportations. That's crazy. At the same time, a slightly larger majority, 56% to 44%, disapprove of Trump's methods. A majority of Americans like what Trump wants to do, but they don't like how he's doing it. I would say that's even worse. Oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy. Yes, please, Big Daddy Trump, deport the people that work for slave wages that allow us to have strawberries that are $2 a kilo or whatever. Like, what the hell? Please deport all the people that willingly come here to our country, commit less crimes than us, contribute to our society, don't break the laws most of the time, don't suck up the welfare state, anything like that. Please kick them out. That's so sick. Like when 56% of Americans agree with the idea of mass deportations and just booting people out. Whether they've done it the right way, the wrong way, doesn't matter. Most Americans are on board with white supremacy because Trump's mass deportations program is just blatant white supremacy. Because I doubt many of those people who are sick of, immigrants coming have anything to say about the white South Africans who were let in. Even the white South Africans that have come here and gotten free cars, free housing, free phones, free money, free jobs, all sorts of hookups. Basically let the door open for the whites, and they keep letting them in, right? It wasn't just those one group of white South Africans. They continue to let these Boers flood our nation. But they got nothing to say about that. Anyway, I'm going to continue here. A similar analysis applies to Trump's approach to tariffs. Americans are evenly split about the goals of Trump's tariff and trade program, but a large majority, 63%, disapprove of his methods. This gap between approval for Trump's goals and disapproval of Trump's methods help explain why he's been elected twice and why his approval sagged so quickly at the beginning of both terms. It also demonstrates why Democrats haven't been able to build an enduring majority in spite of Trump's relentless aggression and overreach. If a majority of the American people believe that only one party shares their objectives, that's crazy. Most Americans are fascist, right-wing Republicans. This is crazy. This is crazy. You know, every time I think in my mind, yo, I'm going to go back to America. Yo, Philly is cool. Boston is cool. The Bay Area of California is cool. I got to remember that most of Americans are fascist, right-wing Nazis. Most of our country is fucking Nazis. Are you serious? This is why, most likely, we're going to have another Republican president. We're in for a decade of fuckery. We're in for a decade of fuckery because most Americans want stupid-ass tariffs that will not do anything to bring American industry back. They want to deport all the people that are willing to be our literal slaves. They want to let in all the racist white South Africans. Most Americans are fucking stupid Nazis. I swear to God. Acti is in the comment section, and one of them killed his wife. Absolutely. I should read that news story. I should read that news story, man, because one of the racist South Africans that was let in killed his fucking wife. But I might read that tomorrow or maybe today. I'm not sure. Anyway. If a majority of the American people believe that only one party, I can't get over that sentence, shares their objectives, they'll keep giving it a chance even when its leader fail, or when they're erratic, or when they're corrupt. This pattern extends well past immigration and trade. If you look at much of Trump's second term, so far through this same lens, we've seen the same cycle, rinse and repeat. Take higher education. I'm not aware of any substantial constituency of Americans who are pleased with the way that Jewish students were treated on elite campuses. No, I hate the New York Times. I'm done. I can't read the New York Times after this. The way Jewish students were treated on campus, get the fuck out of here. This is so dumb. Who writes this mess? Who gets paid to write this? Here I am struggling to write for culturalist theory, and you can just literally pull words out of your ass for the New York Times and write this bullshit. Now I understand why people like MAGA, because this is fucking bullshit. Jewish students harassed on campus? Are you talking about that guy Mahmoud Khalil? Mahmoud Khalil, who was sent to a Louisiana detention center just for voicing his First Amendment right? Come on now, what are we talking about here? What are we talking? This is so dumb. There was no excuse for campus failures, and the encampments, in particular, were deeply unpopular with Americans. We live in a fascist nation. Tell me, anybody out there, tell me right now, is America not fascist? If you see people protesting against a genocide where 55,000 people have died, most of them children, and most Americans say, yeah, those people protesting against genocide are wrong. We live in a fascist nation. Come on now. Anyway, yet that does not mean that the majority also believe that the administration should inflict punishment on universities without due process, stifle free speech, defund vital medical research, and snatch foreign students off the streets for writing an essay in a student newspaper. Or consider the frontal attack on American law firms. Wealthy law firms aren't the most popular institutions in America, but they do possess First Amendment rights. Their ability to represent clients should not depend on the identity of the man in the Oval Office. Even as their methods sow chaos and create division, Trumpists help maintain their support by accusing anyone who opposes their abuses of also opposing their objectives, as if the only way to support a secure border is to support Trump and his tactics. I want to ask all the Americans out there who want the mass deportations, would it not be the same thing to do the type of mass deportations that most Americans apparently want? To do it, you have to be brutal. You have to break into elementary schools and kidnap the janitor in the middle of his shift. You gotta, kick down every, fast food restaurant's door from the back and tackle the first fucking Venezuelan you see. You get what I'm saying? To do the type of shit that Americans want to do, you have to have a Hitler. Americans are pussy. We want to be Nazis, but we don't want our Hitler. It's so stupid. Of course you gotta have a big dick, strongman leader to actually do the wicked shit you want. Most Americans want this wicked shit, but they don't like to see the wicked shit done. Anyway, Raise your voice in protest of violations of Harvard's constitutional rights, and you'll be excused of excusing or even fomenting anti Semitism. Express concern that undocumented immigrants are being sent to foreign detention facilities without due process, and suddenly find yourself accused of supporting open borders and child trafficking. At the same time, there are those on the left who mistake popular opposition to Trump's methods as opposition to his objectives. It was no coincidence that as the resistance to Trump spread during his first term, progressivism surged. Widespread distaste for Trump was easily misinterpreted also as distaste for populism, much less conservatism, and the Democrats marched leftward straight into positions that haunted them in 2024. I'm sorry, but we gotta abandon trans people. I'm sorry. But us on the left, I'm sorry. Trans folks, y'all just gotta ride this one out. We gotta leave y'all be. Because the only way we're gonna get universal health care, the only way we're going to get universal pre-K, the only way we're going to get universal education is basically if we kick the trans off the lefty arc. We got to throw them overboard. We got to throw the trans. We got to throw them overboard. The gays can stay. The bis can stay. The lesbians can definitely stay. But the trans, they got to go. Because I'm sick and tired of leftists getting caught in trans debates. I'm sorry, but I gotta keep it real. I thought the whole thing about being on the left was that we want to win. We want to get power and wield it and actually make a better society for everybody. And if we're bogged down on this stupid culture war bullshit about who's a man and who's a woman, and we all know that gender is a social construct, why are we arguing with MAGA retards about what scientists understand? If they can't grasp it, fuck it. But let's be real. Are we going to say that we don't want universal health care until we get the MAGA retards to understand that gender is a social construct and somebody can have a penis and also be a woman? Like, come on now. Come on now. I'd be totally fine. I'm keeping it absolutely a buck. And I don't care who hates me for this. I'd be totally fine with kicking the trans folks off the boat of us getting towards our total liberation and freedom. If it means we got universal health care and higher education and guns off the street. I'm willing to make that trade. I'm willing to make that trade with MAGA, with all the right-wing folks, to say, listen, stop all this stupid bullshit because all the other shit we agree with. You shouldn't, cut taxes for the billionaires because supposedly they're going to raise your wages and give you a better job, as if that happened over the last 40 years. Okay, we're going to actually tax these motherfuckers, get the money from the rich, and actually bring it back to the communities. But still, we're stuck on this stupid trans bullshit. Kamala Harris is for they, them. Trump is for you. Man, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I can't even continue to read this article. This is pissing me off. Anyway, I don't want to raise my blood pressure. Let me cool down. But the bifurcation between objectives and methods still doesn't quite capture Trumpism. For one thing, when push comes to shove, Trumpism is the method far more than it is the objective. In fact, its objectives are often all over the place. It's got its entire MAHA, Make America Healthy Again wing that's skeptical of big pharma, but it exists alongside millions of Republicans who don't question vaccines and don't want the government telling them what kind of foods to eat. MAGA includes Iran hawks and staunch allies of Israel, and it includes people like Tucker Carlson who repeat Kremlin talking points, sympathize with traditional American enemies, and not only questions America's long-standing relationship with Israel, but have also opened the door to vicious anti-Semitism on the right. While the far left enforced rigid ideological conformity, refusing to admit people into the movement unless there were near unanimous agreement on a host of ideological issues, the right let virtually anyone in the tent, so long as they supported Trump. Believe what you want to believe, but those beliefs will have to yield to Trump's will and to Trump's self-interest. Trump himself applies the same calculus to the extent he has any kind of ideological consistency at all. He's been consistent in his anti-immigrant rhetoric and his support for tariffs. Yet despite its tough guy posturing, he'll compromise even on deportations and trade when it suits his interests. On Thursday, for example, he signaled that he might relent on some elements of his deportation program, in part because shortages of hospitality and agricultural workers could cause him real political harm. And the term taco, Trump always chickens out, was coined after Trump imposed tariffs with great fanfare and then rolled them back the second the political headwinds blew too strong. This is our only hope for the future. This is our only this is our only hope for the future, that Trump continues to chicken out. Shout out to my guy RL in the chat. All right. In other areas where he has fewer convictions, he's even more erratic. He initiated Operation Warp Speed to create a COVID vaccine in a remarkably short time, and then appointed the most anti-vax Secretary of Health and Human Services in American history. He appointed the justices who helped overturn Roe v. Wade, and then approved the most pro-choice Republican Party platform in decades. Where he will never compromise is with his own power. There was never an inch of moderation after the 2020 election. As he lost case after case, and even as it was apparent that his effort to overturn the election was temporarily hurting his approval ratings, even with Republicans, he just kept doubling down. He has never backed down on the 2020 election, not after thousands of his supporters stormed the Capitol, and not after hundreds were convicted of federal crimes. Instead, he pardoned or freed them all. His approach to foreign relations also depends on his perceptions of personal support. Trump's approach to Ukraine in his first term was colored by the bizarre conspiracy theory that it was Ukraine, not Russia, that interfered in the 2016 election to frame Russia. What? Yeah, he was a weird guy. In September 2016, when I debated Charles Kessler, the editor of the Claremont Review of Books, about the nature and merits of Trumpism, I defined Trumpism this way. It is entirely about the aspiration and will to power of one man, and that one man will stay and do and believe anything he needs to say or do or believe to accomplish his political ends. I've been wrong about many things in my life, but I was right about that. And the fact that millions of people believe that in his heart he shares their objectives and supports their cause is part of his very successful con. He's a con man. It's done. America's done. It's done. It's been a nice run. We had a chance. We had an opportunity. But now we got to colonize Mars, man. It's done, man. It's fucking done. Anyway. Do I even want to continue reading about Trump? Why not? He had that stupid military parade. It was really bad looking. You know, we saw all the images. Barely anybody was out there. It was just a shit show. I feel like Trump, you know, as he gets older, he's just basically not really giving a fuck anymore. And he's playing the gay games that white boys like to play. If y'all remember during the election, he was pretending to like suck cock on a microphone. And he was saying weird stuff like, I love black men. I love them. Tell me what's more queen behavior than having a parade? Nelson Moreno says, your country been done. Ain't that true? Ain't that the truth? But tell me what's more queen behavior than having a parade? Seeing strapping, young, handsome men in all of their garb and glory march for you and dance for you. And look at the long phallic missiles and rockets and tank artillery, barrels and stuff like that. Like, I really feel like Trump, I'm trying to say it without saying it, but I think Trump is queening out as he gets older and becoming more senile. I think, we know this. Within every white man, there's a little boy who just wants his sphincter touched, just like the Catholic priest did to him. Within every white man, there is a small hint of all the pedophilic ways of their ancestors and the bestial ways of the colonizers. You get what I'm saying? Within every white man, there is a little bit of that. And I think within Trump, he's been masculine for so long, and he's so busy now that he's president again, he doesn't have time to get pegged, that he is just now just straight queening out. You get what I'm saying? He was talking about other men's penises on the election trail. I think Trump is queening out. Nelson Moreno says he does have a fat ass. Trump got a dunk on him. Trump got a whole dunk. You get what I'm saying? And as he gets older, he's looking back on his life and he knows that, he's going to see the big pearly gate soon and then drop through that, trap door to hell. He knows he's wasted his life because he never got that thing clapped up properly. He has a bunch of MAGA dick suckers, but never got that thing polished. All right. Nelson Moreno says you need to review the Apprentice movie. You're on the right path regarding the gay stuff. I think so, man. I really think Trump is queening out. I wouldn't be surprised after Trump passes on, there will be rumors swirling that secretly he was a top. I really think Trump is a top. Trump gives off big top energy. Pause. Trump gives off big top energy. He doesn't like to catch. He doesn't like to catch, but he likes to pitch, if you catch what I'm saying. Catch my drift? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm sure going to jail would have been his best dream. He hates that he's president because he would have had the opportunity to clean out in jail. Because we know we were this close to actually sending our first president to jail. And Americans dropped the ball, we fumbled. Whatever. Anyway, takeaway from Trump's military parade in Washington. The events in the Capitol were overshadowed by an assassination in Minnesota and turmoil in the Middle East. Nelson Moreno says he's a power bottom. Listen, I'm not that familiar with all the gay terminology, but I can't see this man taking it. I can't see him taking it. I know I said earlier he would like to get pegged. I think he just likes a little bit of ass play. I feel like Trump just likes a little bit of ass play. Not the full finger, just like around the edge. You know what I'm saying? He likes a little bit of ass play. And listen, man, I'm not talking all this gay shit because I'm gay. I just think that he's queening out as he gets older. Anyway, this was written by Zach Montague, published on June 14th, 2025 for the NYT. On his 79th birthday, President Trump spent more than 3 hours on Saturday taking in the scene at a military parade commemorating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The event, which was officially billed as a tribute to service and a showcase of American military history, was hailed by the president's supporters as a show of strength and a savvy recruitment tactic. But his critics argue that the event was a further politicization of the military, and especially after a tense week in which Mr. Trump deployed the Marines in Los Angeles to quell protests. Here are key takeaways from the day and the parade. The day's events were overshadowed by political violence and war. All right, we already know that, and we're going to talk about that more. We already know what's going on. The ceremony walked a careful line. Look how few people were there, man. Look how few. This is sad. This is sad. Look at all the white trash that just happened to pull up on the lawn. My God. This is like the first Eminem concert. The more people show up to an insane clown posse, CD signing in 2025 than show up to the white trash MAGA rally. Look at all these white folks. Now, I know the white folks are going to say, we wasn't out there, brother, because we actually have jobs, unlike you, nigga. I know that's what the whites want to say. But come on now, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. This is on a Sunday. No, wait, this was on a Saturday, right? Yeah, this happened Saturday, Friday, some shit like that. Y'all had time. It's summertime. The kids are out of school. Y'all work. Y'all got all the best jobs in America, so y'all got the time to fly out. You get what I'm saying? Look at all the white trash that showed up to the MGK concert. Look at all the white trash that showed up to the Megan Fox launch of her white trash clothing line called Lowrider Jeans 2002. Look at all the white trash that showed up to the Jeff Foxworthy comedy show festival. Look at all this white trash. Garbage, garbage, garbage. Straight up garbage. Anyway. So the schedule of events in Washington leans strongly into themes of patriotism and gratitude for the Army on its 250th anniversary. The festivities included a range of exhibitions, fitness competitions on the National Mall, a recruitment drive, and showcases of historical uniforms and equipment. Over hours of coverage, conservative commentators repeatedly framed the parade as an expression of appreciation for the armed forces, free of any political messaging. A lot are saying that the president is trying to make this somehow about himself because today is his birthday. Jackie DeAngelis said on Saturday during the big weekend show on Fox News. The left always will take something and just find whatever they can to spin it into a negative place. But the program's conscious choreography did not fully expunge the reality that Mr. Trump had pressed for such a display since his first term in office, despite objections from advisors and top Pentagon officials. Toward the end of the evening, Mr. Trump gave an 8-minute speech thanking service members and defending the decision to go ahead with the celebration. Every other country celebrates their victories, he said. It's about time America did too. He then stood to receive a commemorative flag while the crowd sang happy birthday. Oh, God, this is so whack. It's just whack sauce. Just whack sauce. Context went unacknowledged. Little about the events on Saturday seemed to address concerns about the president's critics and his administration has polarized the military. Less than a week before the parade, Mr. Trump deployed active duty Marines to Los Angeles to help quell protests over the objections of California's governor and against the Posse Comitatus Act in the Constitution. Where are all the Republicans that talk about, we're here to defend the Constitution, brother? The Constitution explicitly says you cannot send the military on domestic terms, on domestic spaces or places without Congress's approval. But MAGA literally sucks this man's dick and says, yeah, he can do whatever he wants. He's the president. Never even read their own stupid ass constitution. I swear this country can go to hell. Nelson Moreno jumped to the comments. He says, how come there isn't a black Dylan Roof? Okay, y'all gonna get me started. Nelson, I know you're trying to get this channel shut down. Nelson Moreno, I know you're trying to get this channel shut down because you know I can't help it. You know I can't help but say it. You know I can't help but say it. I'm not going to say it because somebody going to clip me. I know you're trying to clip me. I'm going to just wink. I'm going to wink and then I'm going to move on. Anyway, the next day, Mr. Trump delivered a partisan speech at Fort Bragg in North Carolina in front of a uniformed troop who booed when the president referred to his political rivals. The Army is investigating how vendors selling Make America Great Again merchandise were allowed on the base's grounds before Trump's remarks. This is gross. Images from Saturdays, such as soldiers helping attendees pose with heavy weapons, did little to ease critics' concerns. Look at our country, man. Our country is sick. And look at the little Indian boy. Go ahead, Rajiv. Play with the nice man. Play with the nice man, Rajiv. He is a good soldier, Rajiv. Play with the nice white man, Rajiv. Play with the nice white man, Rajiv, and maybe you can join the U.S. Army. Play with the white man, Rajiv. Play with the white man. Grab the rocket launcher. That goes to kill people that look like you and me, Rajiv. Rajiv, grab the rocket launcher. That will go and kill the Pakistanis. You know, those people that we hate. Go and kill them, Rajiv. Play with the rocket launcher, Rajiv. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. We will come again. We will come again to the next Trump rally. Thank you, sir. On social media and on television throughout the day, competing narratives emerged, with critics describing the display as representative of Mr. Trump's willingness to use the military to promote himself and even to suppress dissent. Many pointed, in particular, to the president's decision to issue sweeping clemency to members of extremist groups and armed rioters who stormed the U.S. Capitol building to keep him in office after he lost the 2020 election. The spectacle was limited, so they say. For an event that relied on mesmerizing production and an awe factor for spectators, a number of logistical obstacles and muted enthusiasm were palpable on the ground. Reporters for the New York Times who attended the parade described an at times underwhelming performance and crowds dispersing early amid a light drizzle. Celebrants and military history enthusiasts were treated to an air show, robotic dogs marching alongside troops, and live music by the country singers Warren Ziders and Lee Greenwood, as well as exhibitions throughout the day. Perhaps by design, though, the day was somewhat more restrained than other displays Mr. Trump has praised, such as Anyway, I'm done with this, man. I'm done. I hate this country once again. Absolutely sick. Man, just let the white trash have it, man. The whites can have America. The whites can have America. They can have it, man. Anyway, man, we're about to wrap this up very soon. We're about to wrap this up very soon. We're not going to be on live much longer. I'm just rocking with y'all, but yeah, man. It's kind of sick. Let's read this one here. Trump Inc. Filings show staff profited from being in the president's orbit. So blatant corruption from MAGA. A constellation of companies and groups paid President Trump supporters before they took jobs in his White House, according to new disclosure statements. They're paying for jobs. Isn't that DEI? Didn't earn it? This is literal DEI. MAGA has a problem with a black pilot, but you'll allow rich white assholes to buy their way into the administration. Get the fuck out of here. All right, Nelson Moreno says, can I send news? Absolutely, sir. Send your news over. We'll try to read it. I promise we will. Anyway, continuing here. So a constellation of companies and groups paid President Trump supporters before they took jobs in his White House, according to new disclosure statements. President Trump first came to Washington as an outsider who had campaigned against the permanent professional political class. But new financial disclosure filings highlight the expansion of a political cottage industry that revolves around him, one that has been quite lucrative for some of his closest aides. The filings, which are mandatory and appear to have been posted on the White House website on Friday without any announcement, detail the finances of dozens of officials in the 2 years before they joined Mr. Trump's administration. Top Trump advisors like Dan Scavino, a deputy chief of staff, and Sergio Gore, the director of the Presidential Personnel Office, reported making more than $1 million each from media-related ventures linked to Trump. Others, including the powerful White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, and the influential policy advisor, Stephen Miller, reported being paid by think tanks or advocacy groups created to support Mr. Trump's initiatives. Two lawyers in the White House counsel's office, the head of the office, David Warrington, and a deputy named Gary Lakowski, worked at the law firm founded by Harmeet Dillon, who is now serving as Assistant Attorney General. At the firm, Mr. Warrington and Mr. Lakowski represented a Trump-allied Tennessee state legislator whom Mr. Trump pardoned in March for campaign finance-related crimes. Mr. Warrington also represented a so-called fake elector from Michigan, and Mr. Lakowski represented Mr. Trump as well as Kash Patel, who is now serving as the FBI director. And a number of officials were paid as consultants by Mr. Trump's own campaign and supportive political groups before entering the White House. "This is Trump, Inc.," said Jonathan Geyer, who tracked the financial interests of incoming officials in the administration of President Joseph R. Biden Jr., as a journalist for left-leaning publications, and is now tracking the interests of incoming Trump officials as an analyst at the Institute for Global Affairs, a think tank linked to Eurasia Group. This is a network of lawyers, strategists, consultants, and investors who are all, it seems, working in overlapping efforts to advance Trump's interests. Blatant corruption. Blatant corruption. My guy Nelson Moreno sent a news story. Becoming God inside Muji's Portugal Cup. What? Okay, he's reading about a cult in Portugal. It's a long-ass article. Listen, Nelson, what we'll do, we'll read that article next time. But it's something about a cult in Portugal. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy, man. We're going to read about that. We're going to read about that, I promise you. Anyway, Mr. Geyer noted that many of the institutions and networks listed on the new filings emerged after Mr. Trump and his aides left office in 2021 under a cloud left by the January 6, 2021 attack on the Capitol by Trump supporters. After January 6, it was pretty difficult for a lot of Trump officials to get employment with brand name institutions, he said. This kind of parallel set of institutions has been born in the wake of Trump's exit from Washington in 2021. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, and in statement that the disclosures demonstrate the administration's commitment to transparency rules and the willingness of aides to forego private sector opportunities. It's no secret that President Trump hired an incredibly talented and successful team of people, many of whom helped secure the most historic campaign victory in American history, and have now given up their successful private sector careers to serve the American people at the White House, she said. Mr. Trump's social media company, Trump Media and Technology Group, paid $860,000 in consulting fees to Mr. Scavino, who also reported earning more than $1 million in capital gains income through an apparent stake in the company, according to his disclosure statement. The disclosure statement lists precise values for some types of income, but only ranges for other types. Wow. Mr. Scavino's disclosure also shows that he was also paid $376,000 as a salary and bonus by Mr. Trump's campaign, as well as $121,000 from the Republican National Committee, plus fees for his social media content, including $112,000 from a company called Urban Legend Media and $76,000 from X Corp, Elon Musk's social media platform. These people are just making money hand over fist, and still, the people don't seem to care. All right, Nelson, we're going to read that article tomorrow. He says it's super crazy. I swear to God, we're going to pick up that story. But this story is crazy. How blatantly, how in your face, these people paid their way into the game. They paid to play. But yet the Republicans, the MAGA folk, have something wrong with a black woman being the president of the United States because apparently she didn't earn it. But, Mr. Scavino did. Stephen Miller did. Elon Musk did. Literally paid their way into an administration. Anyway, Mr. Gore earned more than $1.5 million in salary and dividends from Gold Standard Publishing, according to his disclosure. The company was listed on prior disclosures as having paid Mr. Trump $5.75 million in royalties related to a book of photos from his first term. Mr. Gore is also listed in his disclosure as having served as president of Winning Team Publishing, which he co-founded with Donald Trump Jr. and which has published Trump-themed books. Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council, was paid $192,000 in salary by Affinity Partners, according to his disclosure. Affinity is a $3 billion investment firm run by Mr. Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, that has accepted money from government wealth funds in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. Nonprofits supportive of Mr. Trump were also a major source of revenue for some of the president's advisors. Mr. Miller, a deputy chief of staff who was helping to orchestrate Mr. Trump's immigration crackdown, created a nonprofit group in 2021 called America First Legal that has filed litigation targeting woke corporations, school districts that promote pro-transgender attitudes, and other causes célèbres of the presidents. America First Legal paid Mr. Miller nearly $500,000, according to his disclosure. It shows that he was also paid $202,000 by a consulting firm called Rushmore Ventures, whose clients include Mr. Trump's campaign and transition. Where's the MAGA folks, man? Never mind, they have no conscience, they have no soul. Fuck Stephen Miller, man. The nonprofit group America First Policy Institute was created by Mr. Trump's allies in late 2020 as a sort of shadow administration to develop and push policies that could be implemented by a second Trump administration. Two of its leaders, Linda McMahon and Brooke Rollins, the Secretaries of Education and Agriculture, respectively, have joined Mr. Trump's cabinet. All right. Nelson Moreno says the corruption is very transparent. I don't know what's shocking about this. Tell conservatives that you are fighting woke and they won't mind that you are elites of the elites. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Like, these people are the type of, elites that they think exist on the left. They think that, there's big money leftists out there in Hollywood, out there in Silicon Valley, that are basically buying their way into influence in politics and also shaping the culture, when it's the total opposite. Every accusation is really a confession from the right. And really, they just have a bunch of rich people who are buying their way into government, tricking the stupid white trash MAGA retards into voting for them, and continuing to just enrich themselves. Anyway, the nonprofit group America First Policy Institute was created by Mr. Trump's allies in late 2020 as a sort of shadow administration to develop and push policies that could be implemented by a second Trump administration. Two of its leaders, Linda McMahon and Brooke Rollins, the Secretaries of Education and Agriculture, respectively, have joined Mr. Trump's cabinet. The new disclosures show that America First Policy Institute paid others now serving in the White House, including Heidi Overton, $303,000, James Shirk, $206,000, and Leah Barden, $151,000. Ms. Wiles was paid by America First Policy Institute as a consultant through an entry called MSGD something something Ventures something LLC, through which she provided communications consulting, according to her disclosure. It indicates that she was paid a total of $401,000 by the entity, through which she also represented divisions of the tobacco company Swisher. Her affiliation with MSGD appears to be related to her work for the lobbying firm Mercury Public Affairs, which she joined in 2022. She also collected nearly $4.4 million in income from her consulting firm, Right Coast Strategies, according to her disclosure. It lists clients for Right Coast, including the Trump campaign, for which she served as co-manager, as well as the Republican National Committee, the pro-Trump cable network Newsmax, and the lobbying firm Ballard Partners. Ms. Wiles had worked at a Ballard Partners, which is based in her native Florida and is run by the Trump fundraiser, Brian Ballard, until she joined Mercury. Right Coast ceased operations at the end of last year, and Ms. Wiles divested her ownership interest in MSGD LLC, according to the disclosure. Other political operatives who worked to help the Trump campaign also reported earning big paydays through their consulting firms. Taylor Butterwick, a deputy chief of staff, was paid nearly $1.7 million by a consulting firm that represented the Trump campaign and groups created to support it, as well as other clients, according to his disclosure. James Blair, a deputy chief of staff who served as the campaign's political director, reported receiving nearly $2.6 million in salary, bonuses, and ownership distributions from his former firm. It represented Mr. Trump's campaign impact, as well as dozens of other clients, including U.S. Sugar Corporation. Alex Pfeiffer, now serving as a deputy communications director, earned $500,000, a little more than $500,000 from his consulting firm, which represented PACs that supported Mr. Trump's campaign, according to a disclosure. It shows that Mr. Pfeiffer's firm was also paid by aligned clients, including the American Conservative Union, which hosts the annual Conservative Political Action Conference, and the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative news outlet. I mean, this stuff is just so blatant. It's right in front of your eyes, man. The White House on Friday also released disclosure statements detailing the finances of Mr. Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance last year, a narrower period than covered by staff disclosures. Mr. Trump's disclosure showed that his family had profited extensively from his forays into cryptocurrency, including the firm World Liberty Financial, in which his stake earned $57 million. Mr. Vance's disclosure shows that he earned between $100,000 and $1 million in interest income from Narya Capital, a venture capital firm that he started in 2020 with financial contributions from the tech investor Peter Thiel, a longtime patron of Mr. Vance and an early Silicon Valley supporter of Mr. Trump, as well as the former Google chief executive Eric Schmidt and the billionaire investor Mark Andreessen. Mr. Vance also reported between $50,000 and $100,000 in royalties from his memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, and between $15,000 and $50,000 in rental income from a home in Washington. To be sure, not every arrangement detailed in the disclosures of White House staff aligned closely with Mr. Trump and Mr. Vance or their agenda. Sean Hayes, a deputy White House counsel, earned more than $1 million in salary from the elite law firm Wilmer Hale, for which his clients include Harvard University, according to his disclosure. Both Wilmer Hale and Harvard have been targeted by the Trump administration. Interesting. Anyway, we're going to wrap that up right there. Talk about the political violence happening in our country. We should have led with this because this is nasty work. Shooting politicians, you get what I'm saying? For right-wing purposes, yeah, we're definitely on the road to fascism, buddy. Continuing, so, like school shootings, political violence is becoming almost routine. Threats and violent acts have become part of the political landscape. Still shocking, but somehow not so surprising. This was published on June 14th by Lisa Lehrer. The statements of shock and condolences streamed in eerily, one after another on Saturday after the assassination of a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband, and the attempted murder of another lawmaker and his wife. Horrible news, said Representative Steve Scalise, who was shot at a basketball game in 2017. Paul and I are heartbroken, said former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, whose husband was bludgeoned with a hammer in 2022. My family and I know the horror of a targeted shooting all too well, said former Representative Gabby Giffords, who was shot in the head in 2011. Yeah, what do most of these people have in common? Most of these are on the left, man. For people saying, oh, the left runs shit in America, nah, man. Basically, our left is just getting beat up and bullied. We need a Stalin. We need a Stalin. We need a Lenin. Where are the big dick leftists like Che Guevara and Fidel Castro on the left? Because how come these people continue to shoot at us and we don't shoot back? Still more came from Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania. Arson 2025. Somebody set Josh Shapiro's house on fire. Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. Kidnapping plot in 2020. And President Trump, 2 assassination attempts in 2024. Why did he miss? Why did he miss? Such horrific violence will not be tolerated in the USA, the president said. And yet the expanding club of survivors of political violence seem to stand as evidence to the contrary. In the past 3 months alone, a man set fire to the Pennsylvania governor's residence while Mr. Shapiro and his family were asleep inside. Another man gunned down a pair of workers from the Israeli embassy outside an event in Washington. Protesters calling for the release of Israeli hostages in Boulder, Colorado were set on fire. And the Republican Party headquarters in New Mexico and a Tesla dealership near Albuquerque were firebombed. I hate that they're trying to conflate the killing of like American elected politicians with like representatives of Israel as like a part of the political violence, which it kind of is, but we're talking about political violence in America directed at elected officials. That should be a major issue. Of course, the people that work for the Israeli government or protesters on behalf of Israel shouldn't be like set on fire or shot down, but it's like kind of disingenuous to try to compare the two. Anyway, And those were just the incidents that resulted in death or destruction. Against that backdrop, it might have been shocking, but it was not really so surprising when on Saturday morning a Democratic state representative in Minnesota, Melissa Hortman, and her husband, Mark, were assassinated in their home. Let's repeat, a woman was shot down in her home with her husband just for being a Democrat. A woman was shot down and killed in her home just for being a Democrat. White woman, the snakes are eating themselves. The O-Fays are not okay. The O-Fays are not okay. The O-Fays are not okay. And a Democratic state senator, John A. Hoffman, and his wife Yvette were shot and wounded. Slowly but surely, political violence has moved from the fringes to an inescapable reality. Violent threats and even assassinations, attempted or successful, have become part of the political landscape, a steady undercurrent of American life. For months now, Representative Greg Landsman, Democrat of Ohio, has been haunted by the thought that he could be shot and killed. Every time he campaigns at a crowded event, he said he imagines himself bleeding on the ground. It's still in my head. I don't think it will go away, he said, of the nightmarish vision. It's just me on the ground. The image underscores a duality of political violence in America today. Like school shootings, it is both sickening and becoming almost routine, another fact of living in an anxious and dangerously polarized country. The president himself was the victim of not one, but two assassination attempts during his campaign last year, during a speech in Butler, Pennsylvania, when a bullet grazed his ear, and 2 weeks later in Florida, when a man stalked him with a semi-automatic rifle from outside his golf course. This is Simon reading the news, and there's nobody listening right now, so I'm going to say it. It's not a bad thing in and of itself to have political assassinations. It's just, unfortunately, the wrong people are getting clapped up. Because nobody is listening, I can say this, and this is the great thing about doing my live streams, because this is the realest, rawest, blackest YouTube channel, because it's so small and nobody gives a fuck and nobody listens, I can generally say whatever I want, and I'll still probably get monetized. I'll still get, the ad revenue, because it still comes in on the back end. But the wrong people are not catching, you know what I mean? They're not catching the metal. They're not catching the slugs. They won't be able to feel it when it rains. The wrong people are catching the heat. The wrong people are taking the shells. You feel me? You know what I mean? Like, if you catch my drift. Anyway. The violent threats against lawmakers hit a record high last year. For the second year in a row since the 2020 election, state and local election officials have become targets of violent threats and harassments, as have federal judges, prosecutors, and other court officials. As of April, there have been more than 170 incidents of threats and harassment targeting local officials across nearly 40 states this year, according to data gathered for the Bridging Divides Initiative at Princeton University. Even in the sketches between acts of actual violence, the air has been thick with violent and menacing political rhetoric. Okay? All right, Simon, even the people are getting weirder. Who are the people? You mean the people that are killing or the people getting clapped? All right, over the past 5 days in which a senator was wrestled to the ground and handcuffed for trying to ask a question of a cabinet secretary at a news conference, a governor was threatened with arrest by the president and with being tarred and feathered by the Speaker of the House. And as tanks prepared to roll down Constitution Avenue in Washington in a political display of firepower, the president warned that any protesters there would be met with heavy force. The response to the Minnesota shootings on Saturday followed a familiar pattern. Leaders in both parties issued a statement condemning the latest incident and offering the victims their prayers. Then came calls for additional security. Senator Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, warned against merely denouncing the shootings and moving on. Condemning violence while ignoring what fuels it is not enough, he said. We must do more to protect one another, our democracy, and the values that bind us as Americans. Going to Nelson, he says, people in general, the world seems to be getting crazy to me. It's time for that reset, man. It's time for us to wipe this world clean. On some extent, I'm not mad that shit libs are getting their shit pushed in to some degree, because the way that we're going to fight back against the rising tide of fascism in America is by having guys like Chuck Schumer finally croak, finally kick the bucket, finally pass on, like they got to go. You get what I'm saying? They got to go. I'm not that mad about shit libs getting their, clap things, getting their cheeks clapped. You get what I'm saying? I'm not mad about that. I'm just mad that there also aren't some, their hits ain't dropping on the red team is what I'm saying. Hits ain't dropping on the red team. It's only the blue dropping like flies. You feel me? They dropping it like it's hot. Mr. Schumer requested additional security for Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith, Democrats of Minnesota, as he had earlier in the week for Senator Alex Padilla, Democrat of California, after Mr. Padilla was manhandled and briefly cuffed when he tried to ask a question of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. And Mr. Schumer asked the Senate Sergeant at Arms and the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, to convene a full briefing of the security of members of the Senate. Mr. Klobuchar laid blame for the violence with growing partisanship and disinformation online. Ms. Klobuchar, who was a close friend of Ms. Hortman, the murdered former Minnesota House Speaker, urged politicians to reevaluate their own rhetoric. People have just gotten angry and angrier, and they have started to act out when they read online, Ms. Klobuchar said. At some point, you got to look in the mirror when you look at what's going on here. Every single elected official does. Political violence has been part of the American story since the founding of the country, often erupting in periods of great change. 4 presidents have been killed in office. 4 U.S. presidents have been killed in office. Another was shot and seriously wounded. Members of Congress have been involved in dozens of brawls, duels, and other violent incidents over the centuries. Today, while most Americans do not support political violence, a growing share have said in surveys that they view rival partisans as a threat to the country or even as inhuman. Mr. Trump has had a hand in that. Since his 2016 candidacy, he has signaled at least his tacit approval of violence against his political opponents. And this is why I say Donald Trump is the worst president of all time, just for this fact alone. He created an entire climate that did not need to be made. A Republican could have won after Obama in 2016. They did not have to usher in, racists who go around attacking Muslims, running over, Latin American people waiting to get their papers and shit like that. Like, all sorts of horrific white supremacist violence has been done, spurred by this man's rhetoric. Donald Trump is the worst president, not even for his policies. It's just for the fact he brought a type of rhetoric, a type of energy that can no longer be put back into the bottle until we have that Civil War II. Until there's Civil War II electric boogaloo, we will not be able to put what Trump let out in the air, in the atmosphere, until blood is shed. Let's keep it real. Like, that's where it's at in this country. Because, the way he talks, back in my day, somebody protesting at one of my rallies would have got would have got knocked the hell out. They would have dragged him the hell out of here. Shit like that, he says, that's a type of energy you can't put, back out. This man lives off fighting words. You get what I'm saying? And the thing about fighting words, eventually you got to fight. You get what I'm saying? And that's what it's coming down to. Nelson Moreno says, sometimes I look at the cruel and cold side of human nature and I hold love towards it, like a deformed lover. Interesting. Do you love Trump? Because he loves black men. Nelson Moreno, do you love Trump? Because he loves black men. He loves black men. He loves them. Anyway, he encouraged attendees at his rallies to knock the hell out of a protester, praised a lawmaker who body slammed a reporter, and defended the rioters on January 6, 2021, who clamored to hang Mike Pence. One of his first acts in his second term as president was to pardon those rioters. On a day when No Kings protests against the Trump administration were taking place across the country, the shooting's impact also extended into the political realm in practical ways. In Minnesota, where a manhunt was underway for the shooter, law enforcement officials urged people to avoid the protests out of an abundance of caution. And in Austin, Texas, the state police shuttered the state capitol and surrounded grounds after receiving a credible threat against lawmakers planning to attend protests there Saturday evening. One of the goals of political violence is to silence opposition, said Liliana Mason, a political scientist in Johns Hopkins University who studies violence and political partisanship. It's not just the act against a few people or victims. The idea is that you want to silence more people than you physically harm. It's done, man. Country's done. Country's done, man. It's done. Game over. Reset. Reset. All right. Nelson Moreno says he doesn't love me. He loves BBC. Anyway, we're done with that. What we're going to be doing now, because Acti and I are going live later. I know it seems like we've been on live for some time now, but Acti and I are going to go live. And remember, everybody, this is a call-in show. You can join in the conversation anytime. Just join on Zoom. But one of the things that's been happening, as we've been reading about, are the protests happening in LA that then turned into Trump calling in the National Guard and the Marines and stuff like that. And there are black people online saying, we're not going to these protests for no kings. We're not going to these protests for the Latinos and immigration and all that, because many of these other groups showed their true colors several other times when we were protesting against the police shooting us in the back, against the police, against the police like beating our black women, shooting our black women, all other types of different things, like during the Black Lives Matter movement. The Black Lives Matter movement really showed the world's true colors. It really showed that us as black folks have no friends. And this is what I'm going to be doing here. I did not watch this video before. I don't watch a lot of Tim Black, but I saw it on my feed, and I thought it would be interesting to react to this video with y'all. So I'm going to watch this with y'all. Hopefully he doesn't copyright strike this. Going to put it on 125 speed. 125 right here. We're going to sit here and watch this and react to it. I'm going to pause it and give commentary. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Y'all ready? Let's go.
You know, you critics and you people that write me and you complain and you're sour because you want to kumbaya. Answer the question honestly. What do you think the president of Mexico would do? And what do you think the people of Mexico would do?
The Black Truth Report. The Black Truth Report. The Black Truth Report.
I'm undocumented. So my parents came in 2008 when I was about, I believe, 7 or 8 years old. We crossed here around that time. We've been living in Costa Mesa for 18 years.
What are your thoughts on what's happening in and around here?
It's nonsense. It's ridiculous. We haven't done nothing wrong. What have we done? Standing in a Home Depot looking for work to feed our family? Is that a crime? Is that our crime? To feed our family? It's not. We're just trying to provide. We're trying to make sure we have a roof over our head.
How do you feel about Donald Trump now not only instigating with the raids, with the ICE raids, but also bringing in the U.S. National Guard, bringing in the U.S. Marines to support those ICE raids?
This is wrong. It's wrong, honestly. I have friends that they're in the Marines. I have friends that they're in the Army, and they even tell me it's wrong. But since we're under the oath, we have to do it. It's an honor.
Do you know people who've been affected directly by the raids?
Oh, yeah, obviously, which is my friends here. As you can see, it's empty. I don't have papers, and I'm still here, risking my life in order to provide myself, to have a roof, like I said.
Are you worried about being grabbed?
I am, but I can't show that. I don't want to show that. Because if they come and if I run, they're going to think I'm a criminal when I'm not.
What if you get grabbed?
It is what it is, right? As a man, that's what we say. It is what it is. But we're going to find a way to come back. Because we decided to be here. Because we want to provide.
Now, I'm going to keep it real. Like, what the Mexican guy said right here, like, we're going to find a way. That's the true thing. Like, at the end of the day, Trump can kick out all the Mexicans. They're going to find their way back. You know, you build a wall, they're going to build a tunnel. So what he said there was very real. I'm just putting that out there, but I'm going to continue playing this thing.
Our family in Mexico, we want to buy, which is a medicines that they can't buy. We want to buy them the food that they can't really buy.
What's in your heart right now?
I don't feel angry because we decided to come here because it's America, right? It's the American dream. It's the freedom of speech. The First Amendment. There's no longer that no more.
Anything else you want to say about what's happening in this country right now?
Don't treat us like animals.
Next on deck with Tim Black.
I got an answer to this question, man. I got to respond to this. It's important, Johnson. I gotta say something, man. Young man, you say, what did you do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. Your parents did. It's called unlawful entry. That's what it's called when you come to the country and you don't go through the proper steps. And it looks like you entered your parents entered the country without, going through the proper entry point. That's what it's called. That's the technical term for it. Doesn't make you a bad person, just makes you in a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? And as I listen to this story, man, and it makes me realize more of the dilemma that we have, right? And there's no doubt there is a dilemma here because we have people that are just trying to live a better life. The only problem with that is we got people that are in this country already trying to live a better life or not getting a whole lot of help doing that. Yeah. In fact, we had a system set up that made it harder for certain ones of us to live a better life right here in this country. Meanwhile, we were paying taxes and doing all that shit. So, I don't expect him to understand that. I don't expect anybody really to just naturally get it. But we gotta start understanding it. We gotta understand it's okay to be like, you know what? Our situation's different than anybody else in this country that comes. This young man, this beautiful young man, this bright young man, his family came here for a better life. And I don't have any grudge towards them at all. But Biden letting in 10 million people. 10 million people. That's a mindset.
I'm gonna just say this. I feel like Tim Black is a little right-wing coded, and he's taking the stance that, you know, people, when you enter a country illegally, right, crossing the border, just stepping over this imaginary line, somehow you're committing this grave type of crime that warrants, you know, the type of reaction where your life is now totally stripped of everything it has, right? And I think we don't have this same smoke for the business owners. There's no smoke for the farm owner that says, yeah, you know, bring in as many illegals as we can get. Let's pay them $7 an hour. I'm sure if you pressed Tim Black on this, he's going to say, yeah, sure, yeah, we should prosecute the fast food workers, the slaughterhouses, the farms that are, you know, hiring the illegals. But we always got smoke for the lowest among us. We always got smoke for the poor people, but you never have smoke for the billionaires and the major corporations that are basically allowing this shit to happen. You get what I'm saying? But I'm going to let Tim cook.
Estimate. Some people say it was more. Where they going to go? Where they going to work? Who are they going to compete with? America's very discriminatory towards Black Americans. I know we got people that think it's not true because they say Beyonce sold a lot of tickets. And remember that Kendrick Lamar song? You know, those are singers and dancers, not neighbors. Hang in there, guys. Hit the like button if this segment makes any sense to you. You got to take a look at both sides of the issue.
The elected officials refuse to address the problem. The Black elected officials refuse to address the problem. My own congressman refuses to address the problem. And I think the problem is Black folks see all minorities as allies. And this is not the case. These people are not here for our common good. They're here for their own good. Where I don't have any ill will towards anybody, I also want to look out for my race. I'm a Black American. I've never used a hyphen. But I will refuse to turn my back on my race and see what's going on in South Central to my people and let these people come in here and just take over. I'm not going to sit back and watch it. And I think it's a terrible thing, a horrendous thing for anybody to see this going on and say, well, he's a minority like me, so I won't speak up. I don't care where he comes from. The key to this whole thing is stop the denial, stop the alliances of, in other words, he's a minority like me, so I can't speak up against him. If this was white folks committing these lynchings to us in South Central, what's going on, there would be an outrage in this country. We have had firebombs thrown through windows. We have had people's cars burned in the driveway because they happened to move into the wrong communities. We had a lady who moved to East LA, came to the state from the South, not knowing what East LA was. It was an all-Hispanic community. She wasn't there one day. We had another man who was burned out of his house in Torrance last year. We had 5 murders in Hawaiian Gardens just because the people were Black. This would not be tolerated if this was white-on-black crime. But the fact that these people come here, and it's the numbers, sir. It's the numbers. They come here in the numbers. They build up the Hispanic community, and they get this sense of power against us. And there are race riots in the schools every day in Los Angeles. It never makes the media. The Black kids are being run out of the schools every day and told to go back to Africa. It never makes the media. We are having people who are being discriminated against on every avenue of society. Economic, schools, even in our prisons now. They have drawn lines, and our prisoners in California are being beat and harassed and raped by Hispanic gang members who recently arrived here because of the numbers. My answer to you, sir, would be we don't need any new laws. Enforce the ones we got.
All right. So this goes to the heart. What that brother was just building on right there, this brother Terry Anderson, Comrade was killing it. Because this is the thing. The whites don't like illegal immigration with a wink and a nod, even though they really love illegal immigration because they love cheap tomatoes, cheap potatoes, and slave labor. There's nothing white people love more than slave labor, and especially those that are willingly jumping on the crucible, like all other groups of people will do, other than Black Americans. The Asians, the Arabs, the other white Europeans, they will all jump on the crucible of white supremacy and come to America and basically be the slaves, right? And especially the Latin Americans, right? They're willingly coming to America to be our slaves, right? But we as Black Americans, I could understand somebody not wanting to be on the side of the Latinos and stuff like that because they come to our country, they come to America. Let's not even say it's our country. They come to America and commit blatant white supremacy and hatred and violence against us. What this brother was talking about is absolutely true. Absolutely true. Just do the research on what it is like to be black in California with the Mexicans running around talking about La Raza. La Raza, La Raza. And they're calling the black folks there cockroaches and monkeys and all sorts of type of stuff. Terrorizing black folks. Terrorizing black folks. You get what I'm saying? Now, I'm from the deep south. I'm from Louisiana. We don't play that shit. And generally, growing up, we didn't have Hispanics around. So I wasn't privy to as much of the racial divide. I even spent some time in Texas. And when I was coming up, black folks and Mexicans were generally cool in Texas. But something about California pits people against each other. You get what I'm saying? And even though I was young, I'm not going to say that there is no black versus brown shit in Texas too. So I'm saying like this. The white folks say they don't like immigration because, you know, the immigrants are coming to take their jobs. Not really, but whatever. We as black folks might be against immigration or nonchalant about it, or actively like saying like, yo, white folks, enforce your laws because you're letting in more white supremacists, right? We made the mistake of thinking that, oh, they're brown like us, they're gonna get it instantly. When you enter America, it's basically us versus them. And they said, see, Poppy, yes, us versus them. We are them. You are not us. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem. That's the problem. Like, we don't want more white supremacists in America. We're already dealing with the whites. And we have to understand, a lot of people that come to America, they were the white upper class in their country. You're moving into America, I'm not buying this bullshit that the immigrants coming to America generally just want a good life, Poppy. They don't want a good life. They want to be a part of white supremacy. They want to be a part of that. Because how come all of them get on code very quickly? No matter what part of the world they come from, no matter what shithole country they crawled out of, they always come to America and have some shit to say about black folks and have some way of being racist towards us, sometimes even killing us. You get what I'm saying? So that's the problem. I really like what that brother had to say, and that's generally where I stand with it. Yeah, stop all this. Like, we know that it's wrong. But we also know that no matter how much you tell these Latinos, yo, the white man, he's on some other shit. He's devilish. No matter how many times you tell the Latino he's devilish, they'll still think the white man is God. The same way the Asians do, the Arabs do, all the other groups of people, they think the white man is God. And they don't want to believe the people that have known their God the longest. You get what I'm saying? Nelson Moreno says, it's also true in Portugal with Brazilians, Chinese, and Romanis. Continuing here.
They have drawn lines, and our prisoners in California are being beat and harassed and raped by Hispanic gang members who recently arrived here because of the numbers. My answer to you, sir, would be we don't need any new laws. Enforce the ones we got.
I play that clip to remind people that this is not a new issue that we're dealing with. This has been an issue. This man, he stated, as he stated, this is something that's been going on. He could get any movement out of his congressperson. Sounds the same way it is now. He could get the media to cover it. It sure won't. I'm frustrated as hell as I go through looking at what the media does, what they cover. People that you would think would be allies, they're not. And I just think it's just a wanting, a longing that people have to have allies. They want to make anybody an ally. The young man who's saying about just played before I got to this segment, this part, he told you, man, he here to help his family. Is he like, yo, sorry, black people. Sorry, man. I care about these black people. Sorry they're going through these things. You know, because I feel bad. Did he sound like he felt bad at all? Nah, he's worried about his family. And you know what? All people have to have a duty to their families. Have a duty to my family. That young man who came here, whose parents brought him here when he was 7, they have a duty to him. They made a decision they were coming to America for a better life. And they have a duty to their child. And then, you know, guess what? And those people are not willing to not take an opportunity because some worker would rather hire them than my black ass. They're not going to turn that opportunity and go, oh, no, but what about the dark-skinned blacks over here that you could hire? Won't you hire them? Don't let us jump the line. No, because they're looking out for their best interests. The only people that get demonized are looking out for their own best interests. What is 2 groups? What is the Jewish people? They get demonized for that. But somehow they overcome it because they got so much power and money.
Okay, I don't know what Tim Black means by that, by saying, oh, the Jewish people get demonized for looking out for their own group. Nobody hates Nobody hates Jewish people, period. At least on the left. The type of left that I'm on, we don't hate Jewish people. We just really dislike a genocide. Looking out for your own people does not mean committing a genocide. You get what I'm saying? Like, I would tell black folks, yeah, don't go to those rallies and protests for the Latinos. But I'm not going to tell black folks, hey, let's, concentrate them in a, 10-mile radius and drop bombs on them for a year and a half. Nobody is saying that. That's a bit weird. I don't know why he said that.
Black people get demonized for the same thing. But we have no power and no money.
Like an older Mexican man won't let his daughter date a black man, but she could date a white man.
Because of the skin color. It's almost sad because they say, pa mejorar la raza.
Yeah,
That's what they be saying.
To better the race.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Bro,
When my grandma moved to the city and my grandpa moved to the city and they met, my grandma automatically just seemed better because she was with this guy from Michoacan that was light skinned and white with green eyes.
I'm what you call a Democratic Party hater, but that's for a reason. I got reasons. They've lied to my people for about 60 years. That's one reason. Republicans ain't lied one time. They've been who they say they're going to be. But Democrats, on the other hand, take us for granted, and then now they're trying to bring in a whole new crop of black people.
All right, Tim Black is an idiot here. This is the type of talk that looks really fucking stupid. I hate when people do this talking point. See, I like the racist right in front of my face. I am more than certain Tim Black lives in a Democratic state. He lives in a blue state. I'm more than certain he is not in Georgia. He's not in Louisiana. He's not in Texas. He's not in Tennessee. The only stupid niggas who say this type of shit are the type of niggas that live with the good white folks. They don't live with the devils we know. But I digress. I'm going to continue to let it play.
Black people, you know what I'm saying? And stand them up as a community and dilute our votes. I got a lot of issues with the Democratic Party. If you don't have an issue with the Democratic Party and you're a black American that's aware of anything that's going on and you're not working for the Democrats, I got to ask you, man, how long are you going to drink the Kool-Aid? I just got to ask you. Do you realize we own just about the same amount of property we own since we started voting for them exclusively? Home ownership for black Americans is 40% in 1960.
This is so dumb.
Today, it's about 40%. We haven't moved one iota. You know who moved past us? Latinos, Hispanics, and new arrivals. You know what happened to black Americans? White Americans were at 70%, and they're still hovering around 70-75%. Owning their own home. And anybody who knows economics and knows how it works, in the United States, typically, that's where most of our wealth is kept. Working class people, particularly, especially. So when you don't own a home, you don't own property, more than likely, you don't own much nest egg, which means you're going to have a hard time retiring, which means you don't really have anything to hand down to your kids.
Hey, that's me, though.
Now, the fact we've been voting for the same party since 1964, I got a problem with that. Who else do you want me to blame for that? So when people want to have these conversations, they want to cape for the Democrats. They want to look over there and say, we got mean orange man Trump. These are the things that I'm thinking about when I don't go along.
Don't ever let me watch Tim Black again.
We have not increased our wealth.
Y'all stop
under the Democrats.
If I play Tim Black again, make me stop. Stop.
I'm thinking about we haven't increased our home ownership. These are the things that are going through my mind. So when people want to just dismiss me, when they want to just dismiss me as a hater, as a bad guy, these are the things I care about. What are they caring about? If I'm worried about the fact we don't own our homes, the fact we ain't increasing our wealth standing in this country, and other groups are coming in and usurping us and moving past us, meanwhile, the Democrats pat us on the head and say stuff like, if it wasn't for you, blacks,
okay, Uncle Rocky,
I never would have made it.
Chill. You're going to get your butter biscuits, man.
I mean it.
You're going to get your butter
those moments. And especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb. The African-American community stood up again for me.
Hey, what's funnier, the way Trump says the blacks or the way Biden said African-American?
If this is what having our back looks like, who needs it?
The blacks.
Here's the thing, Johnson.
Or African-American.
If I'm standing on business about black Americans, and I got a problem with the Democrats, what are they standing on? What would be their retort to me saying, hey, what's up with the home ownership under the Democratic Party? Why hasn't that moved? 5, 10, 15 points, 20 points. Why hasn't it moved? We've been giving them our votes 95% of the time for the last 45, 50 years.
Anybody else notice Tim Black cross-eyed as a motherfucker?
Now, either you're going to be racist and say, Tim, well, it's just as you blacks just
don't want
anything.
That left eye be wondering like a motherfucker. That left eye looking like it want to leave his dumb ass
You're a bunch of failures.
Look at that shit. Y'all notice that? Look at his eyes, man. I'm going to zoom in.
Well, in fact, they listen to more rap music than we do. Well, we don't know. Tim, we just don't have an answer.
Look at this nigga's eyes, man.
Yeah, what would be their response, Johnson? What could they pull out of their asses? See, at the end of the day,
y'all notice
it's like
that
this.
eye?
The people
That
that's
I be
supposed to be in
going.
solidarity with me,
That
you know what
I
they
be
doing?
going somewhere.
Worried about themselves.
I be
Anybody can do that.
all day straight up.
That's what they're doing. They're saying, you know what, this is a lost cause. I'm just gonna go ahead and get my pockets right. Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're saying
Y'all
this is a
notice-
lost
look at this
cause.
nigga eye.
America's always gonna step on black people. They're the bottom caste in this country.
What type of shit
It's evident
that?
by the way the Democrats
That-
move. So we
that
just gonna
I be
worry
saying,
about
lean
ourselves.
back.
That's really
Lean
what they want to
back.
say, but they don't have the guts to say it. And if they did say it, they'd be ostracized by their own party. So they can't tell the truth. All they can do is throw me under the bus, and people like me. When I say me,
Boy, we
anybody
can't
who's
throw you
bold
under the
enough
bus, man. You gonna see that
to
bitch
say it with
coming.
their chest. See, I don't have hate for people coming to this country.
This
If we
nigga
were in
draws
their
stink.
country, if we were coming to their country,
This nigga got the mustiest toe jam.
in their position in that country,
Tim
was
Black looked like the type of dude
like
that
our position is in this
that
country.
fuck your auntie.
I imagine
and
they
then
would be
ask
similar
him
to
for
me.
$50.
Actually, I think they'd be worse. I think they'd be more critical. They
Tim
don't even
Black-
like their own dark-skinned
Tim
black
Black
people.
was that dude that always made inappropriate sexual comments. He was a
See what I'm
substitute
saying?
teacher that made inappropriate sexual comments.
These are the things I'm thinking about when I'm getting criticism
Nelson
from
Moreno
people
said,
who I
"One
feel,
eye look at your
supported
face, the
or
other look at your
understood.
soul."
Most of the time, they don't understand. They don't have a firm grasp of
That eye
reality.
trippy, bruh. I think he got a
If I went to
glass
Mexico, if President,
eye. Hey,
and I was
Nelson
just
Moreno
talking
said
about it
his
earlier today,
eyes
if
are
the president of
divorcing.
Mexico, which is a
That's
woman,
crazy. That's
if
crazy.
she stopped bringing in black Americans,
Dog.
and in 10, 15 years, we own more property. We start
Man,
owning
these
higher rates of
Republican
property
talking points are stupid
and
as
wealth
fuck. I'm done.
than Mexicans.
Look at this nigga eye though.
What you
This
think
shit
they do?
crazy.
I just want to know. I want somebody to be honest with me. Can somebody be honest? You know, you critics and you people that write me and you complain and
Hey,
you're sour
Tim Black
because you want
turn
to cool
around
by
too
y'all.
fast, that eye
Answer
gonna
the
spin
question
around in his
honestly.
head.
What do you think the president of Mexico would do? And what do you think the people of Mexico would do?
Hey, Tim Black, look up too quick. His eyes still
If
looking
black
down.
Americans start migrating to Mexico, and you looked up and 10 years later, we own by capita more property and more wealth
per
than
capita.
Mexicans. What do you think they would do?
Nigga, read them notes the white
You
man
think there'd be a
gave you.
Tim Black version of me going, Arriba! Revolution! Do you think they'd be upset? Would that
my
mean they
God.
hate me? Would they be standing on business for their people? See, in America, we got such a problem with people respecting black people. Even our friends aren't our friends. They racist and don't even know it.
Hey,
Because you and I both know you would totally understand.
Tim
The
Black-
scenario I just laid out, you totally understand and get that. But when I flip it and say, what about America? You go, whoa, 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 whoa.
hey, Tim Black was
Because
the
you like
first
it in
nigga
theory
that
when it
Tina
applies to
Knowles
others,
dated when
but
she
you don't like it
broke up with
applying here for
Matthew.
us. The fact we built this country for free against our will, you
Tim
really,
Black the
truly,
type to
truly
ask your
do
teen
not,
niece for
you
a
are not
hug.
moved by it.
I know, right?
It's just
Tim
words
Black
to
the
you.
type of nigga, hey, where my hug at?
It is just words. I say this.
This
Then we'll
nigga
move on
eye
with the
is
show.
crazy. This nigga eye, oh my.
If
Oh
I'm a
my, oh
fireman.
my. What an eye.
And we got a fire engine. And we respond to a fire alarm.
Nelson Reynolds
When we
said,
get
one
to the
eye
block-
stay awake, the other stay asleep. Tim
Where they
Black.
say a fire is. And if I get there and I see a house
Hey,
that's
this
on
nigga
fire,
blink too hard. The eye
flames
don't know
shooting to the
what to
top of
do.
the sky, and I look
He
over
be blinking
and
and
I
the
see
eye be
another
like,
house,
what? Huh?
no fire going on. Or maybe the front yard has
Oh
some,
my God, Tim Black. man.
has some embers in the front yard on the grass.
All that money
But
the
the
white
house is
man gave
intact,
me
there's no
couldn't
fire
buy
in
a
the
new
house.
eye.
Does it make any sense?
No, Tim, you don't make no fucking
Would you
sense.
understand if I go put water on the house is burning? You say, oh, Tim, yeah, that's the emergency. Why is it when I apply that logic in real time to black America,
Man,
all of a sudden you can't see it. You can't see the logic. You say,
done.
everybody's house is on fire. I say, no, there's no flames coming out of that house over
Tim
there.
Black look crazy.
This is the house with the flames shooting out of it and the baby screaming.
Bruh.
So you
These
would
old
understand
niggas
it then.
from the 70s, man. Gen X was a mistake.
Say you understand. I don't think you get it, man.
These old niggas born in 75
what?
talking shit on the internet, bruh.
It's not my job to stop what I'm
unfortunately-
doing just because you don't understand what I'm doing.
No, we
'Cause I
don't
know
understand
the
what
hell
your
I'm
eye doing, nigga. We don't understand that. This nigga drinking
Perfect.
from a
You made it to the end of the
canteen.
video.
I'm done.
I appreciate you.
I'm done. That was the worst thing I've ever watched. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for doing that to y'all. Anyway, we're going to start where we finished, back on the news. This has been a fun live stream. Stay tuned for Acty and I reading some more news. And y'all be easy out there.